Today we're talking about recursive functions and how you can hide some of the recursive details and clean them up a bit. Welcome back, everybody. Today's video comes from a conversation I was having with Chris about some code, some recursive code that he was writing, and I thought I would share it with you. Now, I know some of you have very strong opinions about recursion, and that's okay. There are good and bad things about recursion. That's not this video. We're not really arguing one way or the other, but today I want to look at a common issue that new programmers run into when they're first just learning how to write recursive code, and I want to show you a simple design pattern that can help you deal with this issue. As always, source code from this video is available through Patreon. Thank you for your support. But now let's look at the code. Now here I have a very simple example. It's a recursive function here that prints out all of the numbers of a particular length that have strictly increasing digits going from left to right. So that means that the second digit is always greater than the first digit, and the third digit is always greater than the second, and so on until the end of the string of digits. Now, there are many different ways that I could have implemented this, but this one is recursive, and I'm passing in a few different arguments here. The first is a buffer. That's a character array. That's going to store the number that I'm currently building, right? So this is going to recursively build numbers, and so this is where it's going to be stored. It gives me just some memory that we're going to use over and over again as we build these things out. So if I'm building 5-digit numbers, then this buffer is going to be 6 digits long. I need to leave room for the null character at the end. Next, there's this offset. This tells me where I am in the current number, basically which digit am I working on right now. Or I guess more precisely, what digit am I going to be adding next? Next, right here, I pass in how many characters are left to generate. Basically, this is the number of digits that I will need to add to get to the end of the number. So like I'm building 4-digit numbers, so this will start out as 4, and then it will just decrease each time I recurse. And then the last one we pass in right here, this is going to be the largest digit that we have added to the number so far. Remember that we can't go any lower than that. That's why we're gonna pass it in, is to allow each subsequent time that the function calls itself. So each function invocation can look at this and say, I shouldn't even consider any digits that are not greater than this, or they're less than this. So then down here in the function, we're going to check to see, well, first we're going to check to see, are we done? Meaning that the digits left is 0. So if we don't have any more digits left to add, then we're going to simply print out the number. Hey, we found a number that satisfies these constraints, and then we return. Okay, so it's really simple. Now, if that's not the case, meaning we still have work to do, then we've got this for loop, and it is going to try every number or every digit between max so far and 9. Right? We can't go above 9. So, and there's no point in trying lower digits because we know that they won't be strictly increasing. So that's why we start here with max so far. We end here at 9. And then for each of these digits, we are going to add it right here. We're going to add it. This just adds the digit into my string, into my buffer. And then, looks like I started a comment. Anyway, we'll just leave it for now. I don't even remember what I was actually thinking. But then we are going to recursively call the function, and we're going to pass in the same buffer. We're going to increment our offset by 1 because we just placed a digit, so we want to shift over 1. We want to decrease the number of digits left because we just placed 1. So if we had 4, this would now be 3. And we are going to pass in I plus 1 because basically we're saying we've just placed I, so you should start looking at I plus 1. So this is the function that we're playing with. This is the example that I wanted to use for today. Down here in main, there are just a couple things that I have to do. I'm not doing any error checking, so we got to run this the right way. But basically, I'm taking a number from the argument list. I'm converting it to an int. I'm also using calloc to allocate this buffer that I'm going to use. I'm using calloc because I wanted to zero all the memory out. I could use malloc and a memset. That would be fine too. And then I am calling my function right here, passing in the buffer, passing in an offset of 0, passing in the number, basically how long I want these numbers to be, and then 0 because we haven't seen any digits yet. And we want it to start with 0. We wanted to check all the digits. Okay, and this works. We can come down here and we can compile it, right? Just calling GCC. Here I'm compiling with debug symbols. That's fine. You don't really need that for this demonstration, but it's just a habit I'm in. And then we can run it. Remember that we do have to pass in a number. So if I pass in 2 like this, you can see that I get all of the numbers where the digits are increasing that are 2 digits long. And if I come in here and pass in 3, Then you get all the 3 digits. Obviously, there's a longer list here. And of course, we could just keep going, but we're not going to. Because the functionality of this code is not really what I'm focused on in this video, what I want to focus on is that this right here, how we are calling this is kind of ugly, right? And often as a programmer, I'm writing code that's going to be used by someone else. There's a user to this code who's going to use this, and this is really ugly. I'm like, you have to allocate a buffer and you have to pass in like 4 arguments. Really what I'd like this to look like, and what maybe your instructor is going to ask you to do if this is for a class or something, is I really would like this to look like this, right? Print the strictly increasing numbers and just pass in a single number n, because that's the only input that the user actually has to provide. The rest of this is purely just an artifact of the fact that we are using recursion and how we particularly wanted to implement this. And so at this point, students sometimes are not sure how to proceed. You know, maybe you're asked to take in one argument, but you're like, the implementation that I either want to use or I've been asked to use requires really 4 things be passed, because these things are required to make the recursion work. And the answer to this, or at least a common answer, is pretty simple. Because the problem is you're trying to actually make one function do 2 things. And so we can solve this by taking one function and making it 2 different functions. So let's first take this original function up here. Let's come up here and let's say, because I don't want my user to call this function directly because its argument list is ugly, and so that's just not how I want things to work. So let's rename this. I could rename this in any way I want. I could say helper. I could say, sometimes I see people put rec, for recursion. We'll leave it at this. I'm sure you'll have opinions on what the right naming scheme is. Today, I don't really have a strong opinion, so I'm just going to leave it like this. Let's make sure we come down here and rename all of the instances of this function. Okay, so now my code hasn't changed. I've just changed the name, but I don't really want anyone to call this. So instead, what I'm going to do is to make another function right here. We're going to call this print strict inc. So this is what we originally had, right? And I would like to say int n, right? So just a number n, the number that you're passing in, and you could call this, instead you could say digits. That works too. And now this is the function that the user is actually going to call. This is what the user is going to call down here. And so no more of this here. And then what we're going to do is basically take this initialization right here, this allocation, because we also why does the user have to even know about buffer at all? That's an artifact of our implementation, something that we don't want the user to even have to think about. So we could take this and I can put this right up in here inside. So now I'm sort of hiding that inside this other function. And then we'll come in here and rename this to digits. And then in here, we're just going to print strict inc recursive, and we're going to pass in our buffer and our offset of 0 and our digits and the largest one so far, just like we did before down in main, but now we're hiding it inside of this function right here. And so then down here, all we have to do is we call this one function. And so now what you have is you have a function that is nice to call like this, and you still preserve the ability to do all the recursive stuff you want to do up in here. So we're also hiding details about the implementation. And this is a form of encapsulation. I know people say that C doesn't have encapsulation. They're talking about classes. This is a form of encapsulation where we are intentionally hiding the details of our implementation from our user, so that if I ever want to change this up, if I ever want to swap it out for an iterative solution, or maybe a different recursive solution, but maybe it's faster or it uses less memory, there's some advantage that I'm trying to get out of some other way of solving this problem, I want to be able to swap that out without the user, the person calling, or I say the person, the code calling this function. I don't want it to have to change at all. I want it to just look like this. I pass in a number. I don't want it to have to know that I'm doing it recursively and I'm passing in a buffer and a bunch of these other temporary variables that just need to get passed to each level of recursion. Now, a few things to point out. One, these new functions, when you split this up, this is sometimes people will refer to this as a helper function, right? Basically, we've split this up, and I've heard both this one called a helper function. I've also heard this one up here be called a helper function or a auxiliary function, something like that. The point is that we're splitting it up. We're having 2 different functions that specialize in 2 different things. One is the interface that the user is going to call, and the other is the implementation. Also, I know someone's going to point this out, that I have added an additional function call here. Now, this is going to add a little bit of overhead. It's going to increase my code size a little bit. It is probably going to, or it may slow down the execution of this program by a tiny bit, but most of the time, or at least much of the time, I'm willing to sacrifice a microsecond or two, or maybe a few nanoseconds of performance, depending on what platform I'm on, if that means that I can get a much cleaner interface for my user right here. So this is something that you can do. It's not something that you have to do. It makes a lot of recursive functions cleaner and more portable, and I hope it helps those of you that are just getting started on recursive programming and may be a little confused about how to satisfy the requirements of your implementation with what you'd like the interface to look like or what your instructor is asking you to make the interface look like. I hope it helps. I hope you learned something new. Consider liking, subscribing on your way out, and I'll see you soon.